Howdy, all you delicious people. I'm here to debut Wrestlemania 42 Night 2. So, as per last year, we'd come to find that, again, Night 2 was to be way better stacked than Night 1 was. Because I don't know why that is. Like, I guess they just don't give a flying F about the Night 1s, right? Of things. Like, man, they just go on and like I just don't understand what the logic is of why you have these two cars. But like obviously, like anyone who's anybody who's smart is going to go on and go into night two because it's going to be much more entertaining. When I was watching this whole event, there was not one time where I was looking at the timestamp and I was like, "Hey, let's go, let's get out of here!" Like freaking come on. No, like that was not at all what happened. Uh, Interestingly enough, like the only unique entrance from night one, I feel was like AJ Lee, who had all those little girls come in and they all skipped and hopped and whatever, and they looked just like AJ Lee, and they circled around the ring and what have you. Roman, his entrance was basically identical to the year past. Like they would go on his thing and do every picture of every person in his family, like Yokozuna's and all that. I'm like, dude, you did that last year in a very different way, but still, you did it last year. Because last year they had like these kind of signs kind of on the ramp, like on top of the ramp, and they were going up and down. And like so they basically did the exact same thing. Like can they not think of how to do a different thing for Roman when it comes down to a WrestleMania entrance? Like, oh yeah, because they're effing lazy and they probably had completely forgotten that they had done that the year before, or they assumed that no one else would have remembered from the year before what they did. I don't know. I don't get it. But anyways, there was some pretty fun entrances this year. Like especially we would go on and have Dominic, who is to have these guys all like dress up as him, and he's jumping off uh this throne that he's on, and Balor comes out as the demon this year. Like, great, finally a freaking demon. Because I know how difficult the makeup is, and I know that Balor goes on and complains about how torturous the process is, and that's the reason why like he didn't want to do it. But then when talking to Cody, it seems that he's more open to doing it. But like I'm grateful that Balor was to go on and do the makeup because how much I like the demon character and how much I like Balor. Um, but yeah, but it's just like, man, I wish that we could go on and do this more than once a year or maybe not at all. But anyways, just because of how much I like that character, like could there be a way to have this character be a lot more easier on Balor to do some way somehow, so that way it's not as torturous. But anyways, uh let's go on and let's get into the opening matchup. So we have Brock versus Femi. And regardless of the result of this match, we'd come to find that this is to be Brock's match of retirement. We'd come to find that Brock is throwing his boots and throwing his gloves at the end of the match, leaving with possible tears in his eyes. It's questionable. But anyways, so within this match, there is a brief number of moves, because of course there is, because it's a Brock match. And it starts off with a lockup, and then it starts off with a lockup. And eventually Brock gets into a couple number of Germans, and eventually this leads us to the finish. So yeah, because there's very little amounts of moves going on in this entire match, so it's very hard to not just push to the finish. That's how short this was, anyways. So when I wave my hand up and down, I will go on and I will explain the finish. And then after that, I will go on and I will explain the John Cena segments, which were actually pretty fun also. And it was kind of sad because John Cena was to go on and by the end of it, be like, well, yeah, like this is the last, we'll be here, you and I together. And like he was kind of just remiss and like, well, anyways, so spoilers. So the Brock match ends with Obafemi winning, which makes a lot of sense. But the way in which that it plays out is just Oba power bombing Lesnar and then pins him, and we're all like, really? Like that's the end? Like, okay, I guess we should have really been expecting that. But like, it was just such an unimpactful match that it's just like, okay, like at least it probably was not as bad as probably the Lesnar Goldberg Mania match that they had at one point, where like the two of them were just kind of like and back at one another, and it was kind of getting boring. Kind of watching it back. But yeah, so that's just how it all played out. Like, really, it was just kind of like, why did this have to exist? Like, what was the point of it? Like, anyways, so shift in to okay, now back to so John Cena. John Cena, of course, opens up this second night basically saying how like he would go on to say how the first night was to be just so good. I'm like, what show are you watching? And then he's like, but yeah, but we're gonna go on and we're gonna make this not even incredible, and we're gonna start off with something big, and that's when this match comes up. So the next segment that John Cena is in, where he's kind of emotional and kind of sad, at which it's all gonna end here. But so Miz and Kit goes on and interrupts Cena and makes their way to the ring, and it's going like, well, yeah, like I'm the one that's the locker room leader now. This is the Miz talking, and he's going on and he's giving him the three eyes. No, that's Kurt Angle. Like, but that's basically the same thing. Of which the Miz is to go on and say about how he's to go on and like, yeah, I'm going to teach these kids this, and Cena's like, yeah, that sounds very reasonable for you to go on and teach them all that. Good for you. So this ends up being squashed by Danhausen's entrance, and Danhausen is coming out with a bunch of like, let's try to be careful here. Short people, because maybe they're not all exactly short people. Maybe they're just really young people. I don't know. I have no idea. Either way, Danhausen comes out with this car, which was like really interesting. It was like, like nice little vehicle. Is Danhausen going to turn into Shotzi? Like, what's going on here? So he didn't come out with a tank. He came out with like a weird, goofy mobile. It was weird. So it was kind of like one of those weird sitcom vehicles that some weird guy invented at the last minute for somebody to just kind of use as a car. Strange. Anyways, so Danhausen makes his way down to the arena. It's like, okay, what is Danhausen going to do? Also, like, there seems to be some back and forth on the social media where Danhausen was talking to Cena, and Danhausen was mentioning how, like, yes, John, I do see you. So Danhausen goes on to eventually make his way with the Shorthausens, and eventually the Shorthausens start attacking Kit and taking him down, and then Miz is going to be taken down by Danhausen. And then Dan is to turn to John Cena, be like, "Hey, can I do your move?" And Cena's like, "Go ahead." Like, it's not like I'm going to be using it. So Dan goes on and does the 5-knuckle curse shuffle, and it actually is kind of fitting for Danhausen to use that move. Because it's like, you can't see me, and he goes on and yeah, so like it does kind of make sense that Danhausen is to use this move more so than anybody. But I did like it where Truth was using it. Whatever. Like Truth did have that invisible Jimmy Kai, so it made kind of sense that he was like, "You can't see me." Anyways, so Danhausen does the 5-knuckle shuffle, sends everybody happy home and what have you. Uh, Even though it's not the very tail end of this. But I was really just happy that Danhausen was on here. I was happy that he was to have a segment. Maybe someday down the road, I'll actually have some Danhausen merch. Maybe that'll happen. Who knows? But either way, like it was fun that Danhausen was to have gone on and been on here as a segment. So let's move on to the ladder match. So the ladder match was just an interesting scramble of things. There were certain spots where I did feel that people, like, kind of rolling into the ring was kind of like obvious, like, oh, so, like, there was a spot where Evans rolled into the ring. I'm like, oh, so he's going to be the next guy coming in. Oh, he's going to be the next guy. Like, they probably should have camera edited that a little bit better or hid that or something. Because, yeah, like, you could kind of tell when people were coming in and doing things. Also, like, the Evans spot where Evans does the move on Rusev, I'm like, yeah, it had to have taken that Rusev would have dived out to do the move, or otherwise it wouldn't have worked. Uh, but anyways, it was so much fun seeing Rusev being put into this matchup to just kind of manhandle a lot of these luchadors or JD and what have you. It was also really fun. Like Rey Mysterio was wearing this like Deadpool outfit, and there was some times where like Rey, Penta, and Dragon Lee were all just kind of like, I don't know what we're gonna do with one another, but hey, let's shake hands. And so at some point there was a lot of times where like Dragon Lee was really just beating the out of Rey, like smacking him on the ladder, and they were saying like, "Hey, he's your mentor." It's like, "Hey, man, like freaking like everybody for themselves." Also, it's like you got to go on and say it's like, "Well, hey, whatever spot can just make people look good." So there was so much scramble, and I was so afraid of JD in this matchup, McDonough, because it seems like I was afraid a long time ago when he was gone on and gotten hurt by the uh, ring announcer table. And so now when I was going into this matchup, I'm like, wait a minute. Like they were talking about how he was to go like flying and like he like hit his head, but surprisingly got back up somehow. And so I was like, okay, like I wish I wish I could have seen that vicious spot, but they didn't show that part. But either way, like it was just kind of like, man, I'm kind of afraid of JD getting hurt on something. I don't know what it is. Like I'm just like, man, that guy is like a magnet for getting hurt. So we go on, and this match, I ain't gone on to see like tag team matches that have ladders, and of course those are just a little bit better in my opinion. Like most of this was a lot of times like people climbing up the ladder and then somebody stopping them. It's a lot of that in this matchup. like the scrambling of the ladder, like that's not as good as them just kind of doing the spots where they thrust the people on the ladder and they hurt them with the ladder and whatever. Um, I loved how Rusev was going on and actually taking the ladder and using it as a weapon. I'm like, wow, what a difference Rusev becomes in a ladder match, because no one uses the ladder as a weapon anywhere else. Yeah, like that was so interesting. So, anyways, it's time to go on and do the spoiler. So, we'd go on and we'd find that Penta is coming into this match with the IC title, winning it off of Dominic, which was surprising. But, anyways, so Penta goes on and retains here. He's to go on and end up being like the guy that they just want to keep strapping this title on. And in my honest opinion, I don't know if I really would have went that way. Like, I would have probably have liked to have had Rusev have this title, just because, like, feasibly, like, to me, he wasn't getting booked enough. But also, like, what would you do if he had the title? I don't know. Like you could go on and you could make any number of different kinds of matches. But yeah, I think it probably does make a lot of sense that Penta is the flashy character. I guess you'd have to I guess I'd have to rationalize that maybe Penta is actually a good choice. Uh, if anything, I would have liked other people to have honestly also been booked in this matchup. Besides, like, why does Evans need to have been here? Like, to me, I just don't really care for this wrestler. Plus, also, I'm like, why isn't Aleister Black here? I still haven't seen him in one freaking pay-per-view for however long that he's been on this company. I'm still waiting for a pay-per-view match that he's in, or a PLE, or whatever the heck. So, sorry, Evans. Like, to me, it's like, you're a young guy. You don't really need to be here, but you're here anyways. I don't care for your entrance. I don't like you. Find a way to figure out how to make me like this person, WWE, because that would be the challenge that I would hope you guys would succeed in, because right now, I do not give a about him. Anyways, so let's get to the basically bathroom break matchup. So, Sami Zayn has the US title, and why should I care? He goes up against Trick Williams that has a really long stretch of a coat that eventually is to be a tearaway, and then he goes onto the ring with some ring announcer guy who I'm like, okay, whoever this guy is. So within this match, I'm like, why should I care? And eventually, with all it going on throughout it, I'm like, okay, like, I can like Trick Williams' moveset. Like, he obviously reminds me of a Booker T, which, hey, Booker T is a great wrestler, so feasibly, like, that is to kind of be, I guess, a compliment, if nothing else. But yeah, but this match, I'm like, WWE, if they're gonna go with Sami Zayn, they need to figure out how you can give a shit about him. Because he goes on and he ends up either losing or ends up getting put into these nothing matches that I just am like, why is he here? Still, after that whole bloodline thing, he has died by 1,000 deaths, in my opinion, with just poor booking. So, they made him a US champion for no reason, and they had him lose for no reason. Because eventually, spoilers, the bathroom break, I'm sorry. Trick Williams ends up going on to winning the title. Yeah, he does. There seems to be some shenanigans going on, but yeah. We'd come to find that Sammy loses the title here. No shocker, because they just love this Trick Williams guy. Everybody has to do the whoop the trick thing, and I'm like, whatever. So, on to the next matchup. We have the WWE Women's title here. So, you know what? Like, I would say that Rhea Ripley is to tend to make everybody look good, but in all honesty, Cargill is to actually be good here. Like, she actually is to go on and be powerful and impressive, and like I'm to finally see that Cargill is like, wow, this is actually not only a champion, but also a wrestler that I'm like, okay, I can finally get behind this person. The whole Storm thing is still freaking getting boring. Like, why can't you guys go like Cargill and the Storm thing is like Tiffy and Tiffy time. Like, why haven't you figured out a way to just get rid of that, to change that character? Because that whole thing is really starting to get old. It's really starting to get stale. And they need to go on and they need to, with both those characters, do something different with them. Like, for Tiffy, like, really lean into that Barbie thing, come up with some kind of Barbie thing. If that's what it seems that is to be the thing that Tiffy is to be going on and being known for. Like, forget about the whole Tiffy time thing. It's getting freaking annoying. But if anything, Jade with her Storm coming in because she has to just continue to have white hair and look like Storm, I guess. It's annoying. But anyways, so within this matchup, I think Cargill gets most of the offense, in my opinion. And eventually we come to find the numbers game with B-Fab and Michin, which I love that. I'm like, cool. Like, so B-Fab and Michin, they get freaking a WrestleMania spot. Good for them. Hopefully they got paid well. Uh, just being nice. But yeah, like I was happy that the two of them were in that match. Like, we get a schmoz going on where they're trying to do something with Rhea, and then all of a sudden we have Io come in, and then Io starts to take care of B-Fab and Michin. Like, we almost got to the point where Io was coming into the ring. I was like, wait a minute, Io. We could get a disqualification here. But as Cargill was to go on and throw her boot up, we just have Io that falls back and then just hits onto B-Fab and Michin, which I discovered was like, oh yeah, this is like this new faction, which I was like, good, because like B-Fab and Michin needed something to do. Like they were just kind of coming from factions that no longer exist anymore. Like Michin was to have gone on and been involved in that whole AJ Styles Good Brother thing, and that whole where is that now? Disintegrated. So, and then B-Fab was on Hit Row, and I've never seen anything of B-Fab after that, or even when B-Fab was in Hit Row, there's no way that I could be clicking on my TV screen because Hit Row. Anyways, so we would go on within this match to really have some clever counters of even finishers, which I was really like ooh ah about. Um, how Cargill was like teasing the the finisher that she goes on and does that is very similar uh to God, what is her name? Tyra Valkyrie, uh the girl who is with uh Johnny Mundo or Johnny Nitro or Johnny T, whatever the Johnny Elite, whatever the heck his name is. The 30 different flavors of names that guy has, and he's bald now. Strange. Anyways, so we have to go on, and we of course have to push on to spoilers. So inevitably, we would go on to have Rhea that counters from Cargill's finisher to go into hers, which is to be um, the Rampage or whatever goofy thing that she has. So uh, she goes on, pins her 1, 2, 3. Rhea wins the match. She's sharing the victory with Io, which is nice. And because at some point they were tag champs, now they're not tag champs. Now eventually we had gone on to do a match crowning other tag champs within the first night, so that's great. Um, because Nia and Legend were champs, and then now we have different champs. Check out the night one review. So yeah, this is great. Rhea wins, and it kind of makes sense also because when you think about it, like how Rhea had to go on and lose so often, as well as also out of the two of these women, like of course Rhea has to win. It makes the most sense. So pushing on. So now we have Demon versus Dirty Dom. So I was kind of hoping that there wouldn't be any kind of shenanigans in this one, and nicely enough, there wasn't. Because I was thinking, like, well, hey, this is a street fight thing. Anything could happen. Like, we could go on and just have some crappy shenanigans here. But no, like, I was like, all right, like, we're kind of straight up doing this. So, really good overall entrances between both contestants here. And we would go on into the matchup. So, we'd consistently have Balor who's doing the which I don't remember that ever being a thing from Balor. Like I'd gone on to like see the Demon in so many matches, but I guess the tongue thing, like maybe never have come up from me. So really, like Balor would go on and do quite a bit of sling blades in this matchup, but man, like I feel that everything that Balor was doing was very hard hitting because Balor went on and did the interview with Cody Rhodes. How he's like, yeah, like I loved actually being the Demon, where he'd come in and he'd kick ass and then he'd leave, but he hated the fact that like the Demon had to be like so promoted the way it did. Like it had to be a very specific day and what have you. And Balor liked how the Demon was a lot more random and wasn't as planned. And like that's how I think in WWE, I think they were trying to do it. Like in NXT, like it seemed a lot more random. It seemed to be like a lot more like I would go on and I would just find that Balor would face off against Tyler Breeze, and it would just be, oh, he's dressed as the Demon. Okay, cool. All right, like kick his ass, Tyler, or kick his ass, Finn. I'm sorry, Tyler, but yeah, you're gonna lose this one. Because for a long time, when the Demon would show up, Finn would win. So, with the exclusion of that stupid Roman match. But anyways, so for this matchup, they end up using quite a bit of weapons here. They most of the time end up using chairs. Like there is some table spots where where really Dominic has a really hard time setting up tables going into the ring, like pushing them in there. It's strange. So Dominic sets up a table in the corner and thrusts Balor into it. And we also had a spot where Dominic was to set up a table, and all this to eventually set up to Balor going on and getting the better of Dominic, setting Dominic for a coup de grace. So but most of the time it's chairs. They go on and they set like 2 chairs next to one another, and we would go on. I think Balor went through that one. There was a spot where they took this chair and Dominic did a 619 on it, which looked pretty sick. Um, but yeah, like there was a lot of cool chair spots in this match, and I really enjoyed it. I was like, man, this match actually to me feels actually really creative, and I applaud these guys for going on and giving something really interesting here. So, spoilers. We'd come to find ultimately that after the coup de grace, Balor would go on and go for the pin and the win. Uh, this this match was for nothing, but if anything, it's like, well, yeah, like these people were to have been past uh past Judgment Day members. Now Finn is out of the Judgment Day. A lot of people are also going on and noticing that Finn Balor had shaved his beard, and they're going like, "Oh no, I love the beard." Who cares? Like, if anything, yeah, we'll see Finn Balor probably grow it back because who cares? I'm assuming, yeah, like I would assume that Finn was probably to just go on like, yeah, man, I just like for the demon makeup, like it's probably just a lot better to not have facial hair. Um, it's not as challenging. So I don't know. Maybe there's a number of good, substantial reasons why he did not go on and why he uh, wanted to just shave his beard. Um, my bad. So going on into the main event. So the main event, Cena versus Punk, or Cena versus Punk, Roman versus Punk, and like, man, we could really take all this from like the longest bit of stuff to kind of build to. Like, we can obviously go on and have Punk talk about Roman and the art of wrestling, mentioning about how like they were trying to pick Roman in the Shield and he wasn't wanting to pick Roman in the Shield. But then he decided like, oh yeah, I guess I'll take Roman in the Shield because if anything, like yeah, that's their guy, but it's if anything, uh, like somebody I can work with, somebody that, and eventually they even mention that in a bit of promo that it's like, well, yeah, hey, I came up with the Shield, and Roman's like, well, yeah, but like you didn't choose me to be in the Shield, like remember, like you said that in the art of wrestling. It's like, yeah, like Vince and Triple H and whoever, they all picked me. You didn't pick me. So during this matchup, it seems that both Roman and Punk are really like talking to one another throughout the whole match. I don't know what the actual conversation really was, uh, but it seems that they were actually just talking to one another. Besides actually just talking probably about the moves, but I don't know. Maybe I could be wrong about that. Um, yeah, it seems that they were going on and having a good amount of dialogue. There's one point Roman was mentioning about how he's going to change that, and they're like, okay, change that. What does that mean? So we would go on to come to find throughout this entire main event that Roman is just overpowering Punk because Roman would just kind of no sell a lot of things. And so the further and further we get into this matchup, it was actually kind of fun. Because eventually Punk would go on and do Roman things. He would go on to do like Superman punches, and he would get the Ulafala, the necklace thing, and he would come in and do the ooh ah or whatever, and he would do the spear, and eventually that would lead into a guillotine, and yeah, so much of this matchup was just a lot of fun. Roman would even go on and do the like, oh, yeah, let's put you to sleep. Yeah, yeah. If you're gonna do me, I'm gonna do you. Yeah. So, and Roman would go on and do the GTS, or try to do the GTS, and then there'd be a counter there. So yeah, a lot of this matchup was so fun. We'd even get to where Punk does a nut shot on Roman to try to take him out that way. Uh, yeah, like this match kind of goes all over the place. It also goes into uh the ring announcer tables where Roman goes on and power bombs Punk through one of the tables. I'm like, oh yeah, this is very reminiscent to Roman, how they would go on in the Shield and they would powerbomb people from tables. Like they would go on in the segment kind of leading up to this. They would remember us about the Shield, and even we would see a thing of Ryback in the bit of footage, which is kind of like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. One of the early Shield stuff. Um, it was also really interesting to kind of see like a young Punk, and oddly the Ring of Honor music being played in the background, getting to then have the normal like cult of personality music. But it was just kind of like, yeah, that was kind of strange. Like, was the Ring of Honor music to be used? Like, was that a dig at AEW? Was that a dig at Ring of Honor? That they're using that here? Was that music just to be like, oh no, like yeah, this is Punk's past. Like this is a thing of Punk's past that we're going on and we're using as music. Uh, Punk had also gone on an interview and asked before about the whole Killswitch to Engage song that he used in ECW, and like he mentioned about how like the cult of personality was so important to him, about how like he forced Vince into using that song just because of it being a copyright song. So with that said, yeah, I think for Killswitch Engage, it was just like, hey, this other song is to probably be a lot more money, so I'm just gonna force Vince to do this one. But anyways, so excuse me, the main event was really good. It was to be very entertaining, and there's be a number of things going on in this match. We'd go on to find that Roman just had a bunch of there's like a woman singing, there's a guy on a piano, and a guy on drums. Um, and I'm like, okay, like this entrance is kind of like okay. They kind of remind me of like the Sting WrestleMania entrance where they have like all the people in the drums and whatever, kind of leading Sting into the. But like, it honestly seemed that this entrance was kind of like with these entrances overall. Most of the time, I felt like where'd the money go? Um, like these entrances with the exclusion, maybe Dominic. Most of the entrances weren't all that ooh wow. They weren't these big lavish things. Yeah, like last year, man, were a lot of the entrances actually really cool. They were actually interesting. The only entrance that I could say that actually was probably the best one that I think was to actually be was probably Cody's from night one. Everyone else, like they just didn't have entrances that I cared at all about, whatsoever. Like it felt like a lot of the entrances were just a normal night out uh for everybody, which is so strange. Compared to the year before, where actually the entrances were really cool that year. Anyways, so now we're going on and we're pushing on into the spoiler of the main event. So, with that said, we'd come to find that at the end of it all, Roman goes into this spear. He goes on to make his way back into the ring. And the way that they just approach this spear and eventually the victory, I'm like, that just seemed just kind of weird to me. Like I get it, there was so much punishment to have gone on with Punk throughout a good chunk of this matchup, but still, the spear by the end of it just felt very weak, in my opinion. But anyways, the pin happened. Roman is now a world champion. And I'm like, okay, so when is the next time he's going to defend this thing? When is the next time we're going to see Roman? Like, and like, I'm fine with anybody to have gone on and won this matchup. I'm not going to go on and say that, oh, I wanted Punk to win because I'm a Punk fan. No, like, I think whoever was to have gone on and won in this it was fair to have gone on and give that person that belt. Uh, Obviously, I think a lot of people were probably leaning on Roman getting the belt anyways. Just for how we would go on and have Roman being like, oh, like Punk looks tired, he looks old, he looks this, he looks that, whatever. I'm to just go on and be like, fuck, like, you know what? Like, Punk has really been uh freaking working his ass off, freaking doing all of his side projects as well as with these hells in a cells and all these crazy matches and cage matches and all this stuff. So yeah, so Punk even probably going on and dropping the belt so he could probably even get some time off. Hopefully he does. Um, yeah, or he probably goes on and maybe does another project while he's having time off. Of course he is. Um, yeah, like hopefully he'll go on and he'll be happy, and hopefully he'll go on and and do whatever he wants to do. So yeah, that is night two for you in only 40 some odd minutes. It's surprising how quickly these ones go. Because feasibly there to me isn't exactly much to talk about because I am not into much of a detailed guy as far as this wrestling stuff goes. So at least this video was out. At least I'd gonna do this. Uh, I don't know. Like I'm going to say that yeah, like night two. My overall grading of night two was I'll say mm, I'll say it was great. Like I'll say overall it was great. It's really entertaining. Night one, I'll say was okay. It sucks, but it's okay. Like it's fine. Um, yeah, I'll go with night one. I'll go with night one just being fine. Um, like it's hard to watch, but it's fine. Uh, at least I can go on and just say that it's something to watch. But definitely tune more into night two. It's more worth it, of course it is. So interestingly enough, like when I was going to try to siphon this off of VPNs and going into Netflix, I could not find it for the life of me. So I had to go on and find some bootleg site that had this and then watch it there. So I'm like, great, I could have watched it. And it wasn't some weird goofy issue that I was gonna go on and have with trying to watch it. So that was nice. So with that said, I'm gonna go on and get the heck out of here so I can go on and just upload this and have this be done. I'm kind of not happy about like when after going on and honestly finally getting to Beastmaster and then going on and following it up with WrestleManias, I'm like, yeah, these are not really good choices. Like I knew that they were gonna go on and flounder, but either way, the channel is just doing well regardless. Views are up, so I'm going to be happy about that, regardless of realizing that the videos that I'm gonna put out right now aren't going to be as good until I probably get back to Power Rangers, and then Power Rangers will probably do well. Uh, Eventually, I don't know. Like leading into Zeos and stuff like that, I have no idea how things are really going to pan out. It could go really horrible, or it could go on and it could just be steady. It could just be uh, a thing that I could just go on and be like, okay, like I'm fine about this because I'll go on and I'll find all these other projects that'll go on and do better than this. Because at some point I have to go on and continue to just find these really good projects that people were really interested in. And it seems that I'm going on and actually having the ability to find that now. There's a good chunk of time where I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. Like now, I think that I feel right now that regardless of what it shows on the numbers of every video, I don't care. Like I'm gonna go on and and feel like I can put my best foot forward on every single one of these projects. I can be afraid that there could be a downward momentum here, but right now I'm just going and just feel like I'm just going to put these projects out that I've planned on doing. And worst comes to worst, I will go on and figure out something in the future to offset what is to have been my downward spiral. Like, I can go on and do so much endless goddamn research and go on and just figure out that somehow that is eventually accumulated views, accumulated subscribers lately, and accumulated whatever is to like, because that's the thing. Like, I really don't know exactly where the views are coming from. Yeah, I'm seeing like little trickles in of videos here and there, but I just don't exactly know where exactly the views are coming from. Plus, also, it just kind of seems like I'm really just going on and just making any video that can just do well, just so that way one video can do way better. Because there's one video that is just doing like crazily better than anything else I have going on this channel. So it just feels like I just need to just keep making like 100 view videos just to get one video to reach more people that is a bigger video that I have. And that just seems so strange to me. I'm like, but I guess I like, but if anything, like I wanted to avoid it going on and going into 2 videos uh per day. Like I really wanted to avoid that because I'm thinking that I'm like I think I can do good enough with just doing one video. But I was also kind of tempted with doing like uh one whatever review and then picking like a one-off episode reviewing thing that I can just kind of chip away at. I was kind of tempted with that. So I don't know. Like I think at this point, um, I don't want to overdo it. I am to kind of question if I can. Uh, well, I just did. I just did both WrestleMania and Beastmaster in one freaking day, but that wasn't watching Beastmaster. That was just like overnighting a review, getting up, reviewing it, and then watching WrestleMania after that, and then going on and reviewing that as quickly as I could. So, like, the whole process wasn't to have been done in one big day. So, maybe it can be accomplished, but then again, also, it would probably end up being just like that, or it's just kind of like I overnighted one video, reviewed it, and then followed that up by doing a project that was a really long endeavor, and then reviewing that. But like, if I did 2 videos in one day, it would probably be like one long one, and then one really very short one. So that could be a possibility that I could do in the future, just to try to get more content out, just to try to um, expand, as well as also finally get some certain content out that I know was to have done really well on the channel. So I kind of just feel kind of incentivized to cover that. So I don't know. Like, that's the future of the possible channel that I'm questioning, and I'm kind of back and forthing about. But either way, like, I feel still good about what I'm planning, um, regardless of where the views are right now, right at this second. Like, I'm still to go on and be like, you know what? Uh, I'm having fun. I'm trying to be happy. I'm trying to still be positive. So I'm keeping that in mind more so than anything else. So with that said, I'm gonna get that out of here. Bye, everybody. Bye, everybody.